The economy, Downing Street misbehaviour, COVID crony contracts, a bad Brexit. Why is the government so unpopular? I'm Mike Cashman, the channel is Britannia Waves the Rules. We've written with Augusta Lees a book about all those factors of satire and parody and 120 videos linked by QR codes. It's my party and I'll lie if I want to. But let me ask the question, why is the government so unpopular? In some ways, you might expect that it would be more popular. I mean, I know it's mid-term, but we have the Ukraine war, which, while nobody sane wanted it to happen, if it's a period of wartime with a common enemy, I know the UK is not at war, but there's very clear common enemy, that tends to increase the government's popularity. And certainly Boris Johnson thought that, judging by his actions. And COVID is a common enemy. And there was a positive response in terms of the vaccination from the government, appointed the right person in charge of the vaccines task force, Kate Bingham. Good job was done. The response was certainly competent, and that should have done something for the government's popularity, and probably did, if one looks at the polls through 2021. And you might have thought that the positive effect from that would last on into 2022 as a result, as I say, of having a clear common enemy in Russia. But the government is massively unpopular, and I suggest that the reasons are the economy, the Downing Street misbehaviour, the Crony COVID contracts, and the bad Brexit, and maybe one more. The economy, we can see that the process that brought Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng to power has been a major factor in trashing the economy, in sinking the UK's reputation for reliability. UK borrowing costs are higher, the size of the budgetary black hole is higher, mortgage rates are higher. Everybody knows this is because of the Tories and the leader that their process chose to elect, the Tory party members, choosing Truss over Rishi Sunak. We have the response to COVID. It's coming out more now is the COVID crony contracts, Michelle Mone, and the VIP lane, which enabled her to jump ahead of competent PPE suppliers in order to make significant profits that were channeled to her and her family, allegedly. Apparently she's taken a step back from the Lords in order to spend more time with her lawyers, but the evidence is pretty damning. And we know the VIP procurement lane was there to give enhanced priority to those who are politically connected. Along with that, the Downing Street parties were more indication that we were not all in it together. And I've written about all these things, the economy, the Downing Street parties, the COVID crony contracts, the bad Brexit, in It's My Party and I'll Lie If I Want To. Do get yourself a copy for Christmas or buy it for a friend. But then we get to Brexit, and the damage of Brexit is becoming ever more apparent. Brexit in the public discourse goes through phases. We were in a phase of we can't talk about Brexit, and the BBC discouraged discussion of it. The government certainly did. You know, it's over, it's past, it's 6 years ago, we have to move on. That phase had to come to an end because it was unsustainable. I said it would, and it has done. And now the Brexit is discussable in the newspapers, on the BBC, on BBC Question Time, as per the Suffolk 2, who I interviewed on this channel for Question Time in Snape on 17th of November, and they turned the course of the discussion round. I won't go too much further into the damage of Brexit because there's plenty of factual videos explaining that, but it's come out into the open. It's much more obvious. There are fewer and fewer people who are prepared to defend Brexit. There are those who always opposed it, and there are those who are saying now, well, I hope for something better and it hasn't turned out very well. But there's very few people saying that Brexit has been a success, and the only criterion really, as Chris Gray points out in his excellent blog, by which anybody's claiming that it's a success is on the basis that all it was about was leaving the EU, and there were never any economic objectives to be achieved by it. This is nonsense, clearly, but if you're attempting to claim that Brexit is a success simply because we've left the EU and nothing else matters, then that would be your argument. So that, as I say, is coming out into the open much more. It's becoming more and more recognised. Nobody can point to any significant Brexit benefits. The Tories are desperately attempting to defend what they've done. And it was their choice, right? The referendum was 52-48 for leave, but the choice of Brexit was by the Tories. So there could have been a much less damaging Brexit, even if there had been a Brexit. This is becoming ever more clear. The Tories, as I say, will only talk about opportunities. It's all only jam tomorrow. There's no significant benefits to talk about. And if we were to go from economy, Downing Street, crony COVID contracts, and the bad Brexit, EDCB to A, then we could look at Afghanistan. Rescue of people who had helped us was a disaster, a Rob disaster, while he wasn't reading his reports and wasn't reading his briefings, as Tom Tugendhat pointed out in the Select Committee. Anyway, EDCB and, if you like, a series of government disasters, and so it's not really surprising that the government is so unpopular, and rightly so, because across those factors we can see that we're all in it together is nonsense. People in positions of public power have abused them in order to achieve their own objectives and have not been looking out for the UK people as a whole. That's my view. Feel free to add your views in the comments on the channel. And it's coming up to Christmas. Do get yourself a copy of It's My Party and I'll Lie If I Want To, or buy it for a friend who is like-minded or maybe different-minded. And as I say, 120 QR codes in there that can take you to videos of the songs, sketches, the songs singing by the wonderful Lee Whitty, Augusta Lees, parodies and so on. So who knows, might even be a good conversation piece. I'm Mike Cashman. Thanks for your time.